So Bull is, hang on, is a very much a brutal revenge thriller. When the script landed on your desk, what was the one thing that stood out most to you about the film?
To be honest, the script didn't land on my desk. Paul Andrew Williams asked if I would like to come on board. And he is someone that I've always wanted to work with and nearly worked with a couple of times. So when he asked me to do it, I just knew, because it was his, and he said, I've written it and I know the quality of his work. So I just said yes straight away.
So what was it that stood out of that script for you?
Well, I always think that some of my favourite films are from way back, like Nil by Mouth. And although I hate violence, it's so weird because Nil by Mouth and like Reservoir Dogs, it's some of my favourite films. And when I was reading it, I felt like, oh, this is going to be raw and brutal. And it was raw and brutal, but I didn't realise what Paul would do with the film, cinematography-wise. What I loved about it was how he shot it, and the use of music in it was quite haunting. So I suppose I said yes, and then just let myself be in his hands, really.
It also takes a bit of a twisted ending. I'm not going to give anything away, which I didn't see coming either. Did you? I mean, obviously you'd seen the script, but were you privy to seeing that before you started?
No, not at all. I wasn't privy to anything. I mean, we're in the pandemic, and so we were all trying to make something, like Paul says, on a shoestring budget in a couple of weeks with so many locations, and not being able to even hear what the director's saying because he's got a mask on like this makes everything even slower. But so I think he did an absolutely fine job. I mean, it's a tough watch, but it's not a tough watch at the same time. Do you know what I mean? It's like I thought it was going to be much tougher because since I've become a mum, I find it hard watching things that are violent. But there's something of the beauty in the way that he does it just feels like it's art as opposed to violence.
Yeah. Okay. And that obviously Neil Maskell he's built a bit of a name for himself, as you know, on the brutality stakes on screen. For you, watching that transformation, can it be quite scary?
Yeah. What I love about Neil is he's a wonderful actor, but you never know what he's going to do next because he looks like a lovely dad in moments, doesn't he? Yeah. And you just think, oh, he just misses his son. He just wants to be with him. He just loves him so much. And then, you know, in the next scene, you're seeing the horror that he will do just for revenge, in the name of revenge. I mean, that's deep. So watching him is always a bit of a masterclass in that kind of work. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, through all its criminal activity and brutality, the film also highlights an issue as well which I think gets swept under the carpet quite a lot, with mothers unfairly refusing to let their fathers be a part of their child's life. Do you think that was part of Paul's thinking when he wrote the story?
I think it's personal to Paul. You probably have to ask him that, because I don't actually know. But considering it's his words and his creation, he must have experienced something to do with that. Maybe not personally, but he must have, you know, it's not something that I know about.
Okay.
Really.
Okay, so you've actually worked a lot in TV, but some of your EastEnders colleagues, they've made brief appearances in Hollywood. Has that ever appealed to you at all?
There were times many years ago where I went over there to do pilot season. And, you know, I took on a manager, I think, for a bit. But for me, in those years, there was always work in England. And I always thought if there was work here where my friends and family were, I didn't understand why I would go there. But at the same time, you know, if there was nothing happening in England and I was a single woman with no kids, I'd have gone there, definitely, because I think that's a natural progression. But it didn't feel like the right place to be when actually I was being offered really good quality work in London or in England. So, and at the time, a lot for BBC, ITV, you know, they're all very prestigious places to work for an actor, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people do very well there if they haven't done well here. And then they go there and they have a great time there. For me, I just didn't, I think I'd have missed my family and friends too much anyway.
I get that. So finally, has there ever been a role that you turned down that you regret not taking?
Oh God, it's probably loads. But I don't want to say it because then the people that are playing it will be like, oh, I wasn't first choice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you
actually
don't want to piss anybody off.
Yeah. There are a couple of things that I wish I'd have done. Yes. But something else happened instead. So it didn't matter. And I'm not going to say what they were because whoever played those parts will probably just think, oh no.